everybody. Welcome to Everything in Poderation, because sometimes the internet can be too much. I am Robert, and I'm old goggle eyes.
I'm Daily, and I have a sword. You can't see it, because this is an audio medium, but I have a sword right now.
Daily no yaiba.
Hell yeah.
I'm Colin, and I swear to God, it's hot enough to turn me into the Hashira of the flame, because, oh my God. It's really hot here, guys, just so you know. We're practically sweating all over our microphones, but we decided we're doing this for you.
I heard it's hot in Seattle. Is that true, guys?
No, Colin's lying.
No.
Yeah, no, we're recording this during the heat dome, heat wave thing that's been happening on the west coast of America, so that's been a lot of fun. It's hitting higher than 40 degrees Celsius, or if you want to be swine, what is it, 110 Fahrenheit?
Well, right now it's over 100 degrees. Yeah.
So it's not great. Climate change is happening. But let's talk about something that's not political.
Yeah.
Anime is not political.
Anime isn't political. You know what else isn't political? Happy 4th of July weekend, everybody.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, if you're celebrating American Independence Day this weekend, stay safe, have fun. I know it seems like we beat COVID, but hey, don't forget, it's still out there, even if you're vaccinated. So, just stay safe, enjoy.
There's a new player involved too.
COVID Delta.
The Delta
and listen,
variant.
If you guys are listening to this while you're doing your grocery shopping for 4th of July, buy the 100% all beef Franks. Nobody likes those cheap hot dogs. I've had so many dry grilled hot dogs, and it's like, this isn't even good. Just buy the beef ones, man. Splurge a little bit.
Thanks for talking about what we really should be concerned with.
Right. But no, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Demon Slayer movie, Mugen Train, or as I like to call it, Mugen Train. It's not how you say it.
You get mugged.
You do. So
I think of coffee.
So Mugen Train, that's Infinity Train, right?
Yeah.
And the season 4 is the final season of Infinity Train.
Whatever connection you're making, no.
We're just gonna will into existence an Infinity Train and Demon Slayer crossover.
I mean,
which is really odd to me, because I feel like Infinity Train is like so small compared to Demon Slayer. Like it's not even. It doesn't even exist as far as Demon Slayer is concerned.
Animated.
Yeah.
And now they both involve trains.
They do. Yeah. And I hear in season 4 Infinity Train, Tanjiro does show up.
Just briefly, but he's there.
It's like a little cameo.
So maybe that's why the show's dying.
Maybe. But yeah, Demon Slayer, if you haven't heard of that anime, that's kind of surprising. It's probably it's kind of like modern day Attack on Titan almost, if Attack on Titan season 4 wasn't happening. Like, it's got that level of hype and energy behind it. It's very beloved in the anime community now. The manga is nuts in terms of its sales. Just for context, it only ran from like February 2016 to May 2020, so like 4 years, right? And it's over now. It's done and complete. You can read all of it, from Shonen Jump, right? So it's only been around for 4 years, and it is currently the 10th best-selling manga of all time. It is in the same list as One Piece, which has been running for nearly 22 years, 23 years.
Long time.
Yeah, I want to say it was... last year, Demon Slayer sold some 80 million copies. Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that it's competing with some super long running manga in terms of sales figures is really nuts.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. And it's such, as far as shonen anime / manga goes, it's a very short one. Because, Naruto / Boruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball, well, Bleach is coming back, I guess, if you want to count that.
It is. And Demon Slayer has sold more than Bleach, actually. In terms of manga, it has sold more than Bleach.
I appreciate that the mangaka was like, I have a story to tell. Here's how long it's going to go. This is the ending I had in mind. There it is. because I think oftentimes what the conversation becomes when we're talking about these long running series is that, dang, it's been on forever, instead of talking about like, wow, they really carried a strong narrative through the entire thing. Because guess what? That it's going to slip if you're carrying something for 20 years. No offense, Oda sensei.
Oda-san.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because I thought for a while anyway that My Hero Academia was going to be like, hey, this is going to be a shonen that we're not going to run into the fucking ground and make last forever. But then again, My Hero is it's really starting to just, it's just going. It just seems to keep going, and they're not going anywhere major right now in the plot. So
yeah. Because I remember feeling the same way in the beginning of My Hero. When I was first reading it, I was like, oh man, this is going to be the new hotness. This is going to be so sick. I mean,
it's really good.
Yeah, it still kind of is, right? I mean, you don't get to a 5th season without a lot of people liking you, but
yeah.
I'm at the point with My Hero. Well, I hit the point like toward the end of season 4 where that story is, where I'm just kind of like, man, I don't care anymore at all.
I don't care.
Yeah. I know the hook is Deku becomes the most powerful hero. Like, that's how the story opens, right? But man, it's taken fucking ever for Deku to feel anything better than shit.
Yeah, and I mean, My Hero also gets hung up on its huge cast of characters, and it's so much so to like I can't even keep it straight. All the characters in My Hero, but Demon Slayer I think does it a lot better, where we're gonna have like a relatively tight cast of characters, and like these are the ones you kind of have to care about, but otherwise like you don't have to really worry about the others. We'll introduce them to you, and then they'll have their plot line, and then they get out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think in this movie, at least in terms of like cameo shots, we see almost every single named character that's going to be relevant to the plot, and it doesn't feel like, whoa, I just saw a lot of characters.
Right, but I think also with the movie, to tee it up, right, you shouldn't watch the movie if you've never seen Demon Slayer the anime or read it. It's very much it's a continuation of season 1.
Yes.
Right. So the way it is season 1 happened. Mugen Train picks up from season 1. Season 2 will pick up from the end of Mugen Train. So it's essential viewing, which doesn't happen often, if ever, in anime.
Especially with movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the history will show, especially with shonen anime movies, that for the most part, they're almost always like a filler plot line or don't make sense within the timeline
Side
of the show whatsoever.
Story.
Yeah, exactly. If you watch all of the old Dragon Ball Z movies before the line of movies that had to do with Super, not all those movies, like if you try to put them into the timeline of Dragon Ball Z, make no sense whatsoever. And same with the Naruto movies. I don't know if there was a Bleach movie.
No, there was one Naruto movie that had to make sense for the plot, because it was literally how they explained how Naruto and Hinata got together, because otherwise it does not make sense in
Naruto the movie
plot. Yeah.
Yeah, so and dumb. That movie was bad, by the way.
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. But my argument is going to be that because Mugen Train is essential viewing for Kimetsu no Yaiba fans, because it's a continuation of the plot, I think that was a huge contributing factor to its bombastic success.
Right, and I think part of that is teed up by the bombastic success of the anime itself, right? Because, I mean, we've established the manga did pretty well. I mean, exceptionally well, really, for like the realm of manga. But, most anime viewers, I wouldn't say they read the manga for every show they watch, right? Rarely, like I think the number of people who watch Demon Slayer the anime, more of them found Demon Slayer because of the anime than there were people who read the manga and were super excited to watch the anime that they've read,
Yeah.
Demon Slayer just broke out. And it helps that it was Ufotable, the studio. Ufotable, very well known for their work on the Fate Stay, whatever the fucks, all the Fates. Many.
There's a lot of them.
There's like 20 sabers. I don't know what that means, but I know there's one character with like that. The name applies.
All you need to know is that she sells a lot of figurines.
Yeah, and she kind of looks like Violet Evergarden.
Looks like Jean from Genshin.
Yeah.
I think I watched 2 whole episodes of Fate Stay Night, and I was like, I have no fucking clue what's going on.
Yeah. It's a, I mean, it's a huge, it's like JoJo's to me, you know, it's like they're both things where like I should know about them, but there's such commitments that I just don't want to.
Well, JoJo is just one joke that's lasting for seasons upon seasons, and it's like, I don't know, it just gets old to me after a while.
Colin, if you think it's just a joke, you don't even
Wow.
know. How could you?
They're going to come for you now. Look out.
I'm going to get attacked.
It's a lifestyle, Colin.
JoJo, yeah.
You might as well say, "Omae wa mo shinderu." Colin wa
That's
mo shinderu.
That's Fist of the North Star. That's not even the same show.
Nani?
Yeah, not even a real fan, Daily. How could you?
Wow.
But yeah, so Demon Slayer blew up with Ufotable. You know, they have this pedigree of amazing animation. Like I've seen stills and like GIFs and stuff from Fate. I know how good they are at making things pretty. I think they did a Tales of anime too to coincide with Zestiria. But
Zesty.
Zesty, if you will. Demon Slayer is Ufotable's next big thing, and that same studio also did this movie, right? And if you watch the Demon Slayer anime, even if you don't necessarily click with it, I think it's pretty apparent just how good the animation is in that show. It's very pretty. All of the shots of Tanjiro using his water powers are beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, even if you don't care about the anime itself, it's just at least worth looking up clips and just seeing how ridiculously pretty it is. Because I think, you know, the anime scene is really where a lot of 2D animation is being pushed. In terms of like what's possible in the medium and things like that. And, you know, obviously computers aid with that a lot, but I feel like in contrast to like Western animation, it's a lot of 3D CG this side. Like, I feel like there's just not a whole lot of Western 2D animation that's kind of going for what anime does now.
Yeah. Demon Slayer has a very specific look to it that I really like, with like the very hard outlines and the way that certain like cells are filled. It does use 3D, and when it's there, I understand why it's there, because it's like Tanjiro walking through the snow, and it's like, yeah, you could, you know, spend hours and hours and hours animating that, but when you already have like the 3D model of him walking, like, I get it. I don't think that the shortcuts that the animators take are not warranted when they can spend more time on, you know, the really gorgeous scenes of like people doing whatever number form of their specific art or sword fighting style.
Right.
I'd rather them spend more time there.
Yeah, I get that. So that's kind of where we are with Demon Slayer, right? The anime. I mean, I think it's all fair to say here we're all at least some sort of fans of the anime, right?
For sure.
It's pretty good. So if you haven't seen Mugen Train yet, because of COVID, which totally get it, that's why we're doing it now, because it only recently came out on streaming services. So if you haven't watched it yet, feel free to load up your anime streaming service of choice. We won't name them because they're not sponsoring us. We're not a bunch of shills.
Pay us first.
Yeah. So go watch it if you haven't. Would recommend Mugen Train. It's pretty good. And if you have watched it, well, we're about to talk spoilers. The rest of this episode of our show is just going to be spoilers about Mugen Train and our thoughts and opinions and feelings and desires about Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Mugen Train.
Umai! 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 Umai!
Going off the rails on a Mugen Train.
Oh, God.
Oh, I get it. That was like that
get
one
it?
Black Sabbath song, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Except it's a Mugen Train instead of, but it is a crazy train, the Mugen Train.
It is a pretty crazy train.
Anyway, Mugen Train.
Mugen Train. Let's talk Mugen Train.
Yeah, I definitely do want to hear a gut check, though, about like the anime so far, in your opinion, leading up to this movie.
Good shit.
Yeah. I think there are parts of Demon Slayer that get a little bit boring. in that, if you've seen a lot of shonen, it does follow a lot of similar beats. It does break away from it at some points, and that's why I think it's worth sticking around. But I'm thinking of like some of them, like the mid-teens episodes are just kind of like, it's okay. You're kind of there for that tatami room that's spinning around, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Those episodes.
It's not really until the spider episodes, the Spider Family.
Yeah, that left an impression for sure. It definitely double key the movie, that arc, and then again with this movie really keyed into the fact that, like, yeah, this is a shonen, but it's like it's a dark fantasy. There's a lot of horror elements at play here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's one of those things where, like, on paper, it's a shonen. You know what I'm saying? It hits a lot of the same beats. I don't really
Tanjiro's
care.
training.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, like, they do veer into the whole monster of the week sort of formula a little bit too. And, like, I usually don't care for that. That's actually was a huge turnoff for me when I started to read Bleach, because they do that for a good span of time in the first few volumes. And I was just like, I can't get on board with this. I don't know. It's just boring because you're not, like, setting up any long-term plot lines here, like a long-term enemy. But then, after Mugen,
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, Michael Jackson.
Thank you.
Yeah, he gets introduced. Then it kind of, like, started to pique my interest a little bit more. Okay, like, we're gonna set up, hey, there's, like, a league of villains that's, like, super strong, and I'm like, okay, this is also a shonen trope, but the designs are cool, animation's good, I like the powers, like, Tanjiro's a good character, like, he's just a good dude, and they just, like, basically tried to write one of the most likable characters they possibly could.
And succeeded. I love him.
Tanjiro's great. Yeah, Tanjiro's great. And then obviously Inosuke is the best character.
Obviously. Yes,
yeah,
yes. Are we all in agreement here? Are we all Inosuke stans?
Yeah.
I like Inosuke, but I do have a soft spot for the little sister, specifically her, like, reactions to stuff, because they draw her in such a way that's like all of her reaction images are gold.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I will say the show has some very, very good, like, comedic timing. Just with a lot of their, like, meme-ish type shits. I don't know. It's very good. There's a couple of gags in the show that got me to laugh. I am torn on Zenitsu's character. I like his design a lot. I don't like that they try to pass off him screaming constantly as comedy.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the comedic relief, and I'm not
a fan of the trope of, like, oh, the dumbest character has, like, some of the most OP powers, but it only happens when certain circumstances are met, and it doesn't, like, his being, like, OP when he's asleep does not make up for the fact that, like, he is a harasser of women.
Yeah, but this is a good segue into, because I think we need to start talking about Mugen Train, or else we've lied to people about the name of our episode.
Oh shit!
So with Zenitsu, he is probably one of the most disappointing things to me about Mugen Train, the movie, right? Because I mean, the movie starts out straight, like, it literally picks up right at the end of the last episode, right? They jump on platform 9 3/4 and they jump into the train, and
yes,
we go from there. And so one of the big early plot points, I would say the Act 1 conflict, right, is everyone's asleep and everyone's having their own happy little dreams, right? And they're all stuck in their dream world. And, like, we've all kind of seen this before in a lot of other stuff, right? And then in my brain, there was a part of me watching the movie where it clicked, like, is this Zenitsu's redemption arc? Because, like, if everyone's asleep, he's the strongest motherfucker in the whole train, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't do shit except for save Nezuko once. And then even after he does that cool scene, right, where he, like, zips through the train and you see, like, his lightning, like, in the train, right, which is really
very cool shot.
Yeah. And then after that, he saves Nezuko. And he's like, I'm here to save you. And then he's funny again. And it's like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it was really weird. The writing, they really shot themselves in the foot. Like, it was right there. With having Zenitsu kind of be the star of the show a little bit.
Even his, like, subconscious was, like, creepy.
Yeah.
The creepy Zenitsu instead of cool Zenitsu. I thought that that part where the children that were tied to them in their dreams that were supposed to, like, stab their subconscious the hearts of them. I thought that he was going to be like a cool guy, but no, he was just super creepy and like only Nezuko's allowed here.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think basically what they're communicating though is like it's all about Tanjiro. Like this is Tanjiro's story, right? That's what that signals to me. Is that they just kind of really want to keep the focus on Tanjiro, which I'm not necessarily mad about, but I definitely understand, like,
but
hey, this was a big opportunity to, like, flesh out both Inosuke and Zenitsu, and they kind of just fell into using comedy instead of using that as a opportunity to fill out their characters, I guess.
I would even argue that Tanjiro's not the main character.
Oh, Rengoku is the star of this movie.
Rengoku-san.
Oh,
yeah.
Especially the back half of the second act into the third.
It's how much we learn about him and then come to respect him and then have that all snatched away.
Yeah. I mean, I think Rengoku is... I can see why a lot of people like him. He's got just enough quirkiness to him where it's like he's fun to watch. You know, the whole like, umai, right? In English, he just says tasty over and over, which, like, I get it. That, you know, that is the right translation. It just doesn't have that same vibe to it.
Did y'all watch the English dub?
We watched it subbed, but I scrubbed through the dub to get some screenshots for us. So yeah, I did hear. And so I, earlier I introduced myself as old goggle eyes because that's like the funniest fucking line in the whole movie where Rengoku gets the shit kicked out of him and then Tanjiro's like, Rengoku, and then Inosuke's just like, old goggle eyes. and in the English dub they changed that to watch out bug eyes, which
all right.
I like goggle eyes better.
Yeah. But no, Rengoku is easily the star of this movie. What I like about him is that I think his place in this movie, or in the show, really, in the Demon Slayer story, is one of those moments where I think he breaks convention with shonen archetypes, because he's quite a few shonen archetypes wrapped into one, I think. He's sort of a Jiraiya All Might mentor sort of thing. But he's also like a Neji, where his death is significant in creating context for the rest of the characters, right?
Yeah.
Because, the last part of the anime was seeing Tanjiro power up and learn the total concentration breathing or whatever, like where he's always breathing properly. So we're like, okay, cool. He's going to be exciting. Like, this is his power up. We've gone through the shitty training arc and now we're here to see him do stuff. And he does do some cool stuff in this movie. But then you see Rengoku do stuff and it's like, I don't want Tanjiro. Fuck Tanjiro. Give me more Rengoku. Because he's cool shit. Or he's hot shit, really. And then he just dies. I mean, he puts up a good fight, but even he can't really do much to the third rank demons. That puts this context for the whole show where it's like, now I see the next goal Tanjiro needs to hit, and it seems so insurmountable, and I want to watch season 2 to find out how he gets there.
Yes. It was even, Tanjiro himself said it, he was like, no matter like how hard I work, no matter like how far I go, I just keep coming up to this incredibly thick wall, and everyone else is way ahead of me fighting, and I can't get through this. And that was one of the last things that Rengoku said to him. It's like, no matter how useless you feel, you have to, what I don't remember what the translation said, like blaze through life, basically.
Yeah.
And it was like, because I think what Demon Slayer does really well, and what this movie really helps to illustrate, is that like the power, like Tanjiro is not like ridiculously powerful. He's kind of average. He's overpowered when it comes to heart, but when it comes to like actual physical strength, he's all right. He's doing pretty good for himself. But there's just this vast gulf between him and like a Hashira right now still. And I like that. I like that this is going to be a journey before he's like ridiculously overpowered. And that's where I think that it's more important that it breaks kind of those shonen tropes where it's not like, well, you were born to be super powerful. And it's hinting at like he definitely has some kind of heritage as far as like whatever was going on with his dad, but it's still something that he has to earn for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rengoku's character in this movie, he was great. Like, I definitely don't deny that. I feel like, though, the whole, like, he's dying, like, he does, like, a badass fight, but then they kill him off. I feel like that was kind of, like, a cop-out way to make us really care about him all of a sudden, because we really haven't spent that much time with Rengoku as a character in the show. And I felt like I'm really not all... me personally, I didn't feel that all attached to him.
Y'all didn't cry?
I mean, I didn't cry, but
Heartless.
Oh, I'm not saying what happened in the movie wasn't good. I'm just saying that, like, you know, compared to like a Jiraiya, where we spent, you know, almost the entire like original Naruto series, or well, yeah, all of the
like literally
Naruto
like
series,
years.
Yeah, with like watching Jiraiya train Naruto and teach him the Rasengan and blah blah blah, like, and you actually grow an attachment to Jiraiya. And then they kill him off in a really dramatic way when he fights Pain, you know. That compared to like this, where it's like, okay, we have like an episode or two in the regular series where, you know, we meet Rengoku, he's not accepting of Nezuko because she's still a demon. But and then like in this movie, we're just kind of like, we're given a little bit of backstory about how he doesn't have an accepting father and he tries to help his brother out. And then like he just dies. And like we're just supposed to care.
Okay,
I don't know.
To be fair, it's not that. I don't think at this point in the story the goal is that we're supposed to deeply care about Rengoku. I mean, I think the Rengoku's built up to be a likable character, but not necessarily like lovable, right? Like not he is the best, the ultimate, the only character I care about in the show. But he's built up where I think a lot of his tear-jerking moments are in relation to his place in other characters' lives. So you mentioned, right, that when we initially meet him in the anime, he is super against Nezuko existing, really, right? Like he wants her to die because she's a demon and all demons deserve to die no matter what, right? That's his whole character arc. And then the rest of his characterization is like there's another anime out there where he's the star of it, right? Like he's so much a shonen protagonist in a way. And that's really all you get from him in the anime. And it all comes full circle in the movie where one of the last thing he says when he dies, it isn't just like, you know, okay, Nezuko's cool. He's like, no, I wholeheartedly fucking accept her. Like, she is the demon to change the world kind of vibes. You cannot let her die. Like, she is, you have my acceptance and all that stuff, right? And that's like his relationship to Tanjiro coming full circle, where it's not really like we're learning about Rengoku and care about his character arc resolving. It's like his death resolves Tanjiro's character arc to him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's just having Tanjiro's character get attached to Rengoku so quickly, when he just didn't have much of a relationship with him to start. Just, I don't know, like I needed more there for me personally. That, I mean, it doesn't take away from the fact that I thought it, like, the fight was cool. I thought the way he went out was awesome. I think it's cool that he kind of pushes the plot forward, right, by hinting to Tanjiro that, like, hey, there's some like documents or something somewhere about like old techniques from the Flame Hashira of like of the past, and like Rengoku never got to read them. It was something like that, right? I can't remember exactly what it was, but that's like hinting at, like, foreshadowing, hey, that's probably what Tanjiro is gonna do next, is probably go on the hunt for those, and that's gonna be his next power boost essentially. But I think Rengoku's character was good. I just think I wish we could have got more time with him, is really how I feel.
I mean, I think we're going to learn more about him posthumously too, right? Because if
maybe
Tanjiro has to go,
his brother,
like,
that's
he's
true.
going to run into Rengoku's brother and dad, learn more about them, and then through them learn more about Rengoku. I think the Rengoku death scene is a moment that's going to mean something completely different when Demon Slayer is all said and done, and you rewatch it from the beginning. It's going to be one of those scenes that's going to be more impactful because you have new context.
I think there's going to be a lot of ripples from because, you know, what Akaza I forget what the demon that showed up at the end, what his name was.
Oh
but
yeah,
the super powerful guy.
the totally not Gara guy.
The totally not Gara guy. But throughout his fight, he was like, you know, like if you train for another year, you'll be powerful. Imagine if you could just train for 100 years, become a demon, like, and we can train together and fight together for like all eternity. And like how gung ho he was about that. It really, to me, I was like, oh shit, we're gonna get like one where we're gonna get some kind of plot where someone who had already become very powerful as a demon slayer wanted to become immortal and become a demon, or at least I hope that's going to be a plot. I really think that would be interesting, because I think obviously Rengoku made all like the very I guess militaristic, I don't know, but I imagine it's in, you know, the handbook, like why we don't become demons, and it's like it's part of the beauty of being human to be ephemeral, and like I'm, you know, I don't want to be able to like regenerate, and I want to be able to live here and now and help those who are weaker than me, but I'm wondering, someone else probably didn't have the same resolve that he has.
Yo, if that happens, I'm calling it now. It's either the wind guy or the snake guy.
Yo,
It's snake because, you know, snake in the grass, right? I feel like obvious metaphor. But wind guy because he's already kind of set up. Like, you first meet him and you don't like him. The story isn't really nice to him, and he's kind of shitty and mean. Like, he's the one who almost kills Nezuko, right? And that just kind of sets him up to be like, so he's on the good guy's side, but he's definitely a bad person.
yeah,
So
he's probably on the good guy's side in order to get more power, but the moment that someone else can offer him something else,
So he's
more,
Sasuke.
he
he's
might be.
Sasuke.
He's gonna
Yeah.
Susanoo. Oh,
Oh, shit.
Susanoo, oh shit.
same.
Put it on a t-shirt.
I do though want to circle back to, because we kind of skipped towards the end, so I want to definitely talk about what happened on the train and the whole like dream thing. Like, I feel like the whole like, oh, they're in a good dream thing, hasn't that been done before? I feel like that's something I've seen before somewhere.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly what comes to mind, but I know I've seen that plot line. It's a pretty standard one, right? Like, everyone's weaker in their dreams.
Yeah. So I don't know, that was like pretty like whatever to me, that whole bit. That part of the movie definitely wasn't like the strongest point for me personally. I mean, and then like, of course, Tanjiro figures out like, hey, I can just kill myself and I'm out of the dream. I thought Inosuke's dream was fucking hilarious, by the way.
I want to play that game where it's like he's on an expedition in a cave. He's got his underlings, which he just numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think too that it hits on the better parts of Demon Slayer's comedy that works. Because, you know, in Inosuke's dream, he sees the train as a giant crab demon.
I died when they were like,
the train becomes a fucking demon.
It's the train. We got to kill the train. He's like, I fucking knew it.
Yeah, I do love that setup, because like at the end of the anime, it just seems like Inosuke is just a weirdo who thinks everything's a monster to kill, right? And you know, he
was right though.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that the train becomes a demon, or it maybe always has been a demon, right? And also, I just love that you've seen suplexing a train. What about decapitating a train? Because that's what the fuck happens in this movie, right?
We need to decapitate this train.
Yeah. But to get back to the dream sequences, like, yeah, I think that was maybe I don't want to say weakest, but it was probably the most boring part of the movie. And it disappointed me in a few ways, in that this could have been a good moment to flesh out Zenitsu and Inosuke as like more interesting characters, but I think they're both also supposed to be the comedic relief, so it kind of makes sense that their dreams are comedic relief. I just wish, I don't know, we got a little bit more maybe out of that. I don't know.
I wonder though if that would have upped the runtime a little too much, though, you know, because this is already a solid 2-hour movie, and it was to the point where, like, you know, when we were watching this and they were finishing up what the hell was going on in the train, I was like, we still have a lot of movie left. Like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, there's still a lot of movie left. This is a solid 2-hour movie. I was like, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do the rest of the movie, because they're about to break out of the dream. But then, like, you know, dude becomes who's the sleep demon's name? What's the sleep demon's name? I don't remember.
Enma.
Maybe?
Enmu or Enma. I think Enmu because it's the same kanji as dream. But
Mhm.
yeah, he definitely fell flat as far as like what's his name at the end came in and totally stole the spotlight as far as like
Ye-
coolest demon in the movie.
Yeah, I forget that the totally not Gara, right? So with him, I wasn't expecting him. I wasn't expecting to see a third rank or an upper rank demon in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
neither.
So him popping up, I think it just gives him an advantage because he was a very pleasant surprise and a very interesting surprise.
Love his eyelashes.
Yeah, he's great. But the dream demon, I was a little, yeah, he's okay. I will say I might like him more in the English dub, just because there is one point where you remember the scene where he's talking about how he loves to give humans a really, really, really happy dream and then twist it into a nightmare to see the absolute despair in their face. So then before he eats them, he can see the pain and suffering in their eyes, and he loves that shit. And like,
all that shit.
he can't finish without it. In
Ew.
the English dub, he says, "I love putting happy little trees in their dreams." That's how he describes like the happy part. And I'm like, is this a Bob Ross? Is he Bob Ross?
Is he
Is he
Bob
evil?
Ross in this?
He's evil Bob Ross.
Evil Bob Ross. All right. I mean, the power itself that he has was really cool, and I loved the mechanism that Tanjiro had to figure out in order to. He literally had to kill himself over and over and over to the point. And at one point, he got reality and the dream mixed up, so he almost accidentally cut his own neck.
Yeah, I thought that was really clever.
That was really clever. But overall, he just was kind of like. All he sent them all in their dreams. I think the more interesting story would have been how he recruited those children and like basically was like, you'll never get to have all these happy dreams either. And even though I think that they all realized that that meant death as well, that their eventual death would come along with being able to have that happy dream for however long.
Yeah, I actually thought that was a good, like a concise way. Like it was all implied, and I kind of preferred that in that instance. I think that was actually a good call because I don't think I needed to see like all of their backstories. Because you also do get the moments where like the one dude who goes into Tanjiro's subconscious, right? He goes into the world that's like a reflection. He's like, it's so pure, blah 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 blah. Which,
he's so pure.
yeah,
Yeah, it's that one.
Tanjiro's a cinnamon roll.
It's
Yeah.
that one
Too
arena
good.
from Tekken 7.
and that also that one level from Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah, so I think that was like kind of all I really needed for those characters personally. I don't think beyond that I needed to get their full backstory. I'm glad that it was kind of implied. I think that would have been. I think it would have dragged too much if they did that.
I do think Daly has a point though, where Demon Slayer has followed this formula where every bad guy was a good guy at one point, right? We
Right.
always get a backstory after the demon dies to make us feel sad for the demon that just died. But we didn't get that with the dream demon.
Yeah, I know. He
Right.
was kind of like, I'm scared to die. And
Yeah,
that was
even
kinda
at
it.
his like rant at the end, because even what's her name that had like the 4 arms, like I felt really like I remember her death because I felt really bad at the very end because she was just like a child. She was like, I want my ball.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the last things that she said. Whereas this guy was just like, I guess, like unrepentantly evil.
I guess. But I mean, even the spider demon, he was one of the upper ranks, right? Like even or
Yeah.
the lower ranks, he was one of the lower ranks, and even he got a little, well, actually a pretty long backstory.
Yeah. And
So-
his sisters, quote unquote sisters, and
Mhm.
not necessarily like the dad, the monstrous one, but almost every demon has had like a I was human once.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of was disappointing for me personally. But at least like I did kind of like he became the train and that whole bit where they had to like fight their way up the train, very much like Uncharted, I don't know, action sequence or something. And it was like kind of making me mad when they got towards the front of the train because the whole time I'm just like, dude, light the fucking coal on fire. Like the whole time I'm just like screaming, light the coal on fire. It's an easy way to end this.
But it wouldn't do anything. You have to decapitate a demon, remember?
Yeah, but wasn't that technically his spine anyway? Where they were?
Mm. It was
train?
like under a bunch of his weird 3D flesh.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. That part of it was just like, okay, that doesn't really make too much sense to me, but sure. Not to mention, I don't know how like Robert and I kept talking about like, yeah, they just wrecked the fucking train. They just killed everyone on the train.
Yeah, how that literally derailed the train and everyone survived.
Yep.
How?
There were injuries, but otherwise it was okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I call horseshit on that, but also like don't care enough to like ding it as a plot hole or anything. Because I'm like, yeah, whatever. Rengoku was faster than light. I'm sure he figured something out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just like, I feel like they probably just would have been better off, I don't know, stopping the train or,
But it blew up.
yeah. Oh, also, well, I mean, if you really want to jump into plot hole talk, I'd be like, well, the demon could have just silently ate people on the train anyway and then kind of whisked himself away. Like, he didn't need to make like a big extravagant way to consume 200 people. He could have just did it quietly.
I mean, they were all sitting in the seats, which were part of the train and therefore now part of his body.
Mm-hmm.
He could have just like been like, I'm absorbing them now. But I think he got too particular. He was like, I want to do it this way.
Yeah, it's very much the plotline of like, yeah, I'm the bad guy, and I'm also going to explain to you my entire plan for doing the evil thing that I'm about to do before I kill you. So that gives you the opportunity to kill me.
I mean, I don't know if I quite agree with that as a plot hole, only because like after Tanjiro decapitates the train with the really cool Hinokami sequence, right? Like with the like the blue sky kind of appearing for a flash second there in the fire. That's really cool. Afterward, you see a bunch of like hand tentacles try to grab all the people inside the train. It's not that the flesh needs to grow over them. Like, I guess they need to be tentacled or some shit. And Rengoku just faster than light just goes through and cuts every one of them before the demon can do anything before he dies, right? So I don't know. I feel like that kind of explained it away in the weird like pseudo magic shit that's going on, you know?
Yeah, sure. I guess, you know, there wasn't an explicit explanation of the rules in this particular case. So yeah, sure. Anyway, we're killing a train.
We're killing a train. One thing I did want to post to you two, it's something that I've seen in a few reviews for this movie where some people said that this movie didn't deserve its R rating. That it
was rated R?
It's rated R. It's a rated R movie.
Really?
And yeah, and some reviewers called out that seemed a little too harsh. I mean, it didn't stop the movie from making $500 million and being the highest grossing movie in 2020, which is pretty cool. But also Hollywood took a break that year, so you know. But it's still great, and I'm really happy to see that. But I'm curious what you two think. Do you think the R rating was too much, or do you think it was deserved?
I mean, personally, I mean, off the bat, I think it's too much in my head. I mean, I think maybe the argument there was like maybe you could call the whole train sequence gore ? And like, you know, scenes of Tanjiro committing suicide, pretty much. I mean, maybe that'll set it off, but I'm honestly not sure. I mean, otherwise, I think it would be PG-13. But I mean, it's not like
I would,
you know, a lot of, you know, I don't know, sex and cursing and blah blah blah.
I guess I would argue the what seemed rated R was the extended sequences of Tanjiro's family being slaughtered. Children death, children dying true. Makes sense to me. And then him figuring out that he has to kill himself. That was pretty gory in that sense. And then just the way that it was, the injuries that Rengoku sustained were really unfortunately realistic. And I think that's part of the reason why it like the point that the demon was making, you know, like your eye is gone. Like I just destroyed your eye. It's already gone forever. Whereas like you just cut off my arm. I just regenerated it instantly. Like you're never going to be able to surpass this gulf. And then like he literally punched him through the solar plexus, and it's like there's no coming back from that.
Right. And, you know, for a good while there, when I found out it was R-rated after seeing the movie, I was kind of in agreement with you two about like being, oh, that's kind of weird. I didn't think about it. But I do think the suicide is probably the biggest driver for it. Because, I mean, yeah, Rengoku's injuries are pretty extreme, but also like Dragon Ball. That happened in Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball's never been R-rated. Like Yamcha literally had a hole punch through him. Like just punched through him.
Goku
right?
had a whole shot through him.
Yeah. And you
so
know,
did Raditz.
There's a lot of holes in Dragon Ball. And
Statement by Robert Scarpanito.
And it's never been rated R, and it's happened in a lot of other anime too. But I do think the suicide thing is the thing that tips it off, because if you think about it, if we're gonna call Demon Slayer a shonen, the whole conceit for shonen as a genre is that it's very appealing to young boys who are often very impressionable and would find something to relate to in the main character, or like they'd want to be like Goku or Naruto, right, and be the best they can be and all that stuff. And then Tanjiro would be the vector for that in Demon Slayer, and you see him killing himself a lot, right?
A lot.
And it's all in a dream, but it's still depicting a child, or maybe like late teens, right, slitting his own throat. And not just like in a scared way, but like he has the conviction and the willpower to do it. Like they even make a point of it in the movie, right, where when he's like running at the dream demon uses his weird hand mouth to shoot sleep waves at
sure.
Yeah.
Let's
Tanjiro.
bring juice into this.
Yeah. And every time he's only asleep for like a second and then comes back because he has that much willpower to slit his own throat. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, okay, I think that's probably the R rating, because it's a bit much for like.
That's a bit much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that, but I don't know. Not really something I really thought much about with this movie. Just kind of like, I don't know if I really think about that much with any movie anymore, honestly. I'm just like, yeah, it's a movie. It's got content in it. That yeah, I don't know.
Adulthood be like,
I don't care about the rating. Give it to me.
Wow, I don't care about the rating. I'm a cool kid. I don't even care if it's R rated. I'm still gonna watch it.
Yeah, I do like the way it ended, though. It kind of was upsetting that the demon ran away, but like I really like the scene where Tanjiro gets really fucking upset and pissed off.
You
and so
coward.
He's like, you coward. Like, just like, I like that. That was a really good emotional moment. It was really good acting. But
he throws the sword like a fucking javelin.
He just fucking chucks it.
Guys, I've been waiting to talk about this. Did he just lose his sword?
Again.
For the second time.
Is he getting that back?
For the second time.
He's not getting that back.
No, he's not getting that back. And that's the thing, is I think it's going to become a running gag in this show that he's going to keep getting more and more swords made for him. Because remember how pissed off the swordsmith was last time he broke his sword after he killed the spider demon?
Or, oh shit, what if 200 episodes from now or whatever, Tanjiro fights that third rank demon, and the third rank demon's like, remember this sword? This piece of shit? And then Tanjiro is like, he's got a way cooler sword, and it's like a direct comparison to show like, this is where he was in Mugen Train, but now here's where he is in episode like 70 or whatever.
Okay, that's a big brain energy right there. You know what I hope happens is Tanjiro takes the hilt of Rengoku's sword and reforges it and uses it.
Ooh, because he's just a blade thief. This man's he ran off with Tanjiro's sword and most of Rengoku's sword in his neck still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
asshole.
I will say
Tanjiro made a great point during that whole yelling fit too. It's like, we meet you in the dark where you're at an advantage and we're at a disadvantage. You fucking assholes.
Yeah. I did love that. And it's kind of nice. Like, you rarely see protagonists be so frustrated with the rules of their world. They just kind of live with it, right? But
yeah,
Tanjiro was just like, man, fuck this. I wish I was in a different anime.
Meet me in Naruto. We'll see how we do then.
Yeah. And of course, I adore the scene when Rengoku's dying, and then like Inosuke's like, "Quit crying, you cowards!" And then he like starts crying too.
Yeah,
and then he starts flailing his limbs.
There's a GIF It's going to be on Twitter. I'm going to abuse it. Absolutely.
As you should.
Thank you, Robert, for taking the time for
I felt like
that.
I needed to do the world a favor by making that.
Wait, did you make that GIF yourself?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can check our Twitter. So one thing I really do want to call out in the fight scene between Rengoku and Gaara is I think there's a lot of, someone gets a hole punched through them in anime. And this is the first time I've seen a man's use his abs to keep someone's arm inside of them.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
That is amazing to me. Like, it's so fucking funny. I couldn't stop
You're
laughing.
not getting away.
Yeah. Like, the scene where the guy punches through Rengoku and you're like, oh shit, that's the kill blow. That's the end of it. And Rengoku's like, fucking no. Keep your arm in there and I'm gonna like grab you with my other hand and you're gonna stay here until the sun comes up. Like, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was
good.
great. Yeah, it was like, I really do like that they never like Rengoku's character, he never stops being like a tactician essentially throughout the fight. Like he's always thinking like a few steps ahead to communicate that like, hey, Hashira, they're really experienced, they're really skilled, and they're always thinking ahead of the game. But yeah, because they had that whole plot line with like total concentration breathing where it's like it's basically Hamon from JoJo's Adventure or Bizarre Adventure now, where it's like, yeah, just concentrate on the wound and it'll heal. It's fine.
If you breathe good enough,
yeah, if
you'll be
breathe good.
fine.
Yeah, like so total concentration breathing. I can hold in your whole arm now inside of my abdominals. It's like, okay, all right.
Yeah. But I like that it does have limits. I mean, like he was like, Tanjiro, if you move too much, if you stop concentrating on that, you're going to bleed out and it's going to be a fatal wound. And he was like, can't you like heal yourself with the breathing? And it's like, no, dude, I cannot.
Nah, dude,
Not
like
this one.
No, all of my lower intestines are gone.
Like, no, it's not happening.
Yeah. I do like though that they are, for the most part, pretty specific with like restraints within the rules of this world and like helping you understand like this is what they're working within, like and that helps you give a good sense of scale to the actual power scaling when it happens, right? Because that's when it gives you a good understanding when like, hey, when this happens, it's a significant jump because you know what the rules are and it's like now somebody is going beyond those rules in some sense or going to the absolute limit.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just kind of leaves you with so many questions about where do we go from here, right?
Yeah, they set up a lot of stuff with this movie.
Yeah, and I'm left now thinking a lot about the Hashira because it seems like the show makes a point that like there aren't two water Hashiras. There's like the Hashira of water is Gyu, right? The Hashira of wind is Snake Man, or is the wind guy, and the Snake Man's another one, right? And it's like, so now is it that the fire or the flame Hashira position is open and firebenders are going to try out for it? Or is it like the next Hashira is already chosen? Like there's so many questions. Like, does Rengoku have an apprentice the same way that the medic poison lady has the other girl?
Well,
right? Like,
yeah, I mean,
that was part of the dream when he was, when everyone was like, yeah, I'll train under you. Yay, big brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we'll definitely train. And then Rengoku's like, yeah, I'll totally train you guys. No problem. So I'm guessing the implication there was like he didn't have any pupils, unless they may make the argument that like, hey, maybe his brother was his pupil at one point and he taught him. That could be a plot line. But I'm actually thinking, though, that they're going to make Tanjiro basically into the Avatar a little bit because he can do fire and water. So technically, he would be they're setting him up to be like the best of the best Hashira by the end of the show, essentially.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I wonder because I mean they do still make that big point, right? That he does fire, not flame. And I wonder
what's that? Yeah.
We still don't know what that means, right?
No, we don't know the distinction.
And we still don't know what was up with Tanjiro's dad, because clearly he did more than lay in a sickbed during his life to the point that he's known to Michael Jackson Mugen.
Right.
and I'm really interested in what will happen with the other Hashira in the future, because I have this feeling that Rengoku is like the shining example, but no one else seemed to really be like morally totally there, I guess. Everyone seems to be on their own level as far as like their own motivations. Like they're totally they're definitely, you know, loyal to the cause, but how they go about that I think is going to be different. Whereas I think Rengoku was like the straight shooter kind of guy, where it's like, I am a Hashira and that's who I am. I'm about, you know, protecting people that are weaker than me. But I did not get the same vibe from any of the other Hashira.
You know, I just remember too how didn't Rengoku grow up with his mom telling him you were born special? Like he's literally anime protagonist, right? Like shonen,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, dead mom that said you were special.
Mm-hmm.
Her hair was to the side.
Like, yeah, so he definitely is, I think, the model Hashira, right? But it also creates this interesting vacuum now where, you know, but previously, I've always seen the Hashira as they all have their own motivations, but they're all loyal to Android 17, the blind guy with Android 17's hair. I forget his name. The leader, the master, right?
Yeah, who's also going to die soon.
Right. So I've always felt that that's what connects them all, because they're all not exactly like, they don't come off as a bunch that would get drinks after work, right?
No.
So it just kind of leaves this hole of, okay, so if the most seemingly virtuous of them is now dead, where does that leave all of their loyalties and motivations from here?
Fucked.
Questions.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm really excited to see where this show goes after we get season 2. Like, there's just a lot of questions I still have. There's a lot of different things they're setting up. There's a lot of different ways they could take it. They are really starting to set up, though, that like, here's like a set amount of lore. We're gonna have like a big overarching story, and we're gonna progress through that.
Yeah.
I love that, because of the movie being, you know, directly in the midst of the canon, being a direct continuation of season 1, that we're able to have these conversations instead of just like, that was fun when Tanjiro and Nezuko went to the beach, but they had to go at night because she's a demon.
Right. Yeah, I'm really happy that it's not following what pretty much most other shonen anime do with their movies. The only other example I can think of whether they did this is Dragon Ball Broly. Dragon Ball Super Broly specifically, because that movie is canon, right? But it's also kind of weird because that's been 3 years now, and it's like, so that movie is canon and it ends with like, okay, there's going to be some stuff in the future and we just haven't seen any yet, so it's kind of hard to like judge that movie's place in the canon, right?
Yeah.
But with this Demon Slayer movie with Mugen Train, I am eagerly awaiting season 2, and if I remember right, I believe we're getting season 2 later this year.
Yes.
So we don't have long to wait to start catching up, or start, I guess, seeing where the Demon Slayer train takes us.
Hell yeah.
Off the rails.
Yeah, I'm excited to see more, and I just want to see more pretty animation and bigger and crazier fights, because I'm sure we'll get those.
I want more Nezuko. I liked that this movie demonstrate, like, she has a hold of that, like, power, the burning blood.
Yeah.
Like, she can do that on command. I think it's important to communicate that so that we know she has that in her pocket.
Right. Since you can't like literally talk and just say to us, hey, I have command of the burning blood technique now.
Yes. Oh my God. I know we didn't really talk about it at all, and at risk of my feels, I don't want to get too much into it. But like the whole him seeing Nezuko again as a human and hearing her speak and seeing his family, it was tragedy porn a little bit.
Yeah.
And it hurt. And it hurt bad.
Yeah, that was such a sad scene, because like all of Tanjiro's motivations are tied to family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it was just you know, just a good plot device, a good motivator. And, Tanjiro's like, hey, don't fuck with my family.
Yeah, I liked that. He was like, my family wouldn't fucking say that. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Basically, it was like, that wouldn't happen. I'm glad he didn't ever. And it wouldn't be in his character to have that moment of doubt either. Because it's like, he knows. He knows.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Tanjiro is that he is such a headstrong protagonist, literally and figuratively, right? Like, he knows what he wants to do and he does it. And then also he can headbutt the shit out of anything. I'm convinced he can headbutt. Like, whatever the final fight is, he's going to headbutt the dude.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
My body is ready.
I think Tanjiro, too, has to be like one of the most objectively likable protagonists I've seen in an anime in a long ass time. Like, they just try to make him like, oh, he's a little bit of a tragic character, but he has a big heart and he's like constantly getting stronger. But he's also just like a good dude who wants to help people. And they just like really try to spin him into like being like, he's like impossible not to like.
Yep. I cannot be annoyed with him in any way, shape, or form, as I usually am with shonen protagonists.
I mean, I think it helps that his two companions can be pretty annoying in different ways. So like, it just doesn't make Tanjiro seem as annoying, right? But what I want to gear this conversation toward now is that, I mean, this was a huge release for an anime movie, for a weeaboo anime movie, right? It has grossed $500 million domestic or internationally worldwide, right? Which if it came out in 2019, it wouldn't even make the top 10 because, that includes like the number one movie, Avengers Endgame, which made like $2 billion. But for an anime movie, that's still nuts. It has grossed more money than Spirited Away, more money than Your Name and Weathering with You, which are probably two of the most high-profile anime movies in recent years, right?
Yes.
And what makes this even more insane to me is that with Your Name and Weathering with You, you didn't need to watch a full season of a show beforehand to have all the context.
No.
But with Demon Slayer, you do, which is a pretty high barrier to entry, I would argue. And it still broke all these records.
People were climbing all over those barriers.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's the strategy of, I mean, it's already the biggest anime in the world, and then we're going to make a movie. Like, that's the only way you're going to know what's going to happen next is by going to see this movie or streaming it. Like that. I mean, that's a solid strategy, I would say, in this case, to get people into the theater.
People are going to watch the movie.
Yeah, and it has now eclipsed every Ghibli movie in terms of worldwide monies, how much monies they've made in the box office. Now Spirited Away is number 2 at 395 million, under Demon Slayer's 500 mil.
That was a 19-year record that they just bing.
Yeah.
They just trained through.
And
you know what I mean?
I think I know what you mean. Interestingly, domestically, or like within North America, so the US and Canada specifically, according to these stats, right? Demon Slayer actually didn't have the biggest, in terms of anime movies, it didn't have the biggest gross amount of money made in those markets. Do you know which one was? You know which one was number 1 in America and Canada?
No.
Pokemon.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Which Pokemon movie?
The first one.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, that's lovely.
The Mewtwo one.
I get that then.
Yeah.
I totally get that then.
Yeah, because that was a fucking phenomenon back in the day, right?
Yeah,
like,
not only is it like a good movie, but at the time, that was the thing.
Yeah.
It was Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon's huge. And now it's getting a resurgence with how fucking crazy TCG has been. So...
Yeah, so it's really only the power of Pokemon that has dethroned Demon Slayer in the US and Canada, which, that makes sense. Pokemon is nuts. It is probably one of the most lucrative properties in the world.
Ever.
Yeah, I really wonder, though, like, when you have a movie like this that's tied into an anime, like, where you have to have seen the entire anime to go see this movie, like... There's a barrier, right? They're like there's a ceiling to how notorious or how well recognized those movies can be. You know, because it's not like a movie like that's going to be nominated for awards or anything like that. It just can't.
But
It did though,
it
won them.
it was nominated for 12 awards and it won 10 of them.
Really? Like here in the US?
International ones. A lot of Japanese
Oh.
ones, and I think one French one, maybe.
Really?
Yeah, I'd have to double check. But
I mean, yeah, North America's not the best when it comes to animated awards.
No, we're really bad. It's really
I
bad.
think that it's been terrible considering like the Academy Awards, which I think are just at this point the most visible, but I think there's been a lot of questioning as to their own validity, especially when it comes to the animated category.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't think we're ever going to have an animated film win Best Picture. I mean, shit, we're just now getting to the point where
It has happened
animated film
with
won
Spirited Away.
yeah.
Well,
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away won an Oscar for Best Animated Film, right? Not Best
Yeah.
Picture.
I thought it was. I thought it was Best Picture. I thought it was the first to win Best Picture.
No, I think it was animated. And I remember that being the big deal back in the day because everyone was like, in America, if you thought of animated movie, you only thought of Disney and Pixar.
Oh,
All of a
Right.
sudden, these nerds at the Academy were like, hey, actually, this weird Japanese shit, pretty good.
Yeah.
Since then, they have awarded the award to things like Boss Baby. So,
longest sigh ever.
Yeah. And we're making headway because, Parasite won Best Picture last year, and that's the first time I think a foreign film has won Best Picture, right? So
yeah, Korea represent.
yeah. And Parasite's a great freaking movie. But anyways, my point being is like, Mugen Train is fantastic. I don't think though that it's like it's just hard to make the argument since it can't necessarily stand on its own for being like the best anime movie, in my opinion.
Oh,
Mm,
like putting it side by side with like Ghibli films.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a fair comparison.
That's a hard. Yeah, that's a hard comparison to make.
Yeah.
for sure.
yeah, I mean, Your Name is easily one of my favorite animated films and probably just one of my favorite films, period. And I don't think Mugen Train is even in the same conversation to me when I'm thinking about like what are my favorite animated movies. But
agree.
I think that's entirely missing the point.
It is.
I think Demon Slayer Mugen Train is about right now is it's delivering on the promise of all these weebs who've seen season 1 and are excited to find out what happens next, right? And it is easily delivered, right? $500 million in the books. But the second wave of it is a bunch of people who have never seen or heard of Demon Slayer seeing all of a sudden this weird Japanese movie made $500 million worldwide, and it's like a sensation. What's this about? I have to figure out what's going on here. And that at that
Welcome.
point, yeah,
Welcome to the Thai show period.
pretty much, it's becomes its own marketing for Demon Slayer, and then it just becomes a loop where there are people who maybe will get into season 1 because they've heard of all this hype about Mugen Train, or maybe they even just saw Mugen Train in the theater, didn't realize like the context, and then we're like, oh shit, I gotta go back and figure out what happened, right? And then they catch up. They're there for season 2. If they end season 2 and then do like a second movie, I don't know what the future arcs are. They're gonna be there day 1 too.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think you could. I'm trying to think if you could watch Mugen Train not having seen any Demon Slayer content before and still like you'll still get the gist of it. You'll definitely learn about like, oh, so Tanjiro's family died, but this is his sister and she's still alive, but she's not human. Okay, I can make the connection there. There's definitely some finer points you'll miss out on, but it's not unwatchable if you haven't watch the anime. But for sure, I think that if you watch it not having watched the anime, what's your first task? You're going to go home and watch the anime.
Right, assuming you like the movie, right?
Assuming, yes. Which, how can you not? Old goggle eyes.
Old goggle eyes.
That would be interesting, seeing someone having watched Mugen Train and then going back to watch the anime. I wonder how that would work for them.
I mean, I feel like it happened more than you think, because I mean, there are a ton of people out there who like go to the movie theater and then decide what they're going to watch, you know?
Sure.
Like, they
What a
don't-
life.
Yeah, right.
I can't imagine that life, but that must be an interesting one to live.
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, they could have just seen Mugen Train because it's a slow day. Believe it or not that many big movies have been coming out in the past year and a half for some reason. So they saw Mugen Train and then were like, cool, this actually seems interesting. I want to find out more. And I think it has that power over, say, like a Naruto movie because, like we've been saying, those aren't canon and they're set up in a way where they're just, they're their own little thing. So
Yeah.
you don't feel as like you may not if you only watched a Naruto movie, maybe you'd be like, oh, what's this clone jutsu thing? What's the Rasengan about? But like in terms of needing to know all the previous bad guys or story developments to understand the background that gets you to that movie, not so much,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Mugen Train superior.
I'm glad though that it's blowing up the way it is. I mean, it's a well put together anime at the very least. I mean, it's definitely still victim to shonen tropes, but like I think ultimately it's just really well done, and it's a tight experience, and I'm all for that. Like I don't think we need animes that just run on for seemingly forever, and yeah, I'm just happy it exists.
Mugen Train. Mugen Train. I'm on the hype train for Mugen Train.
I'm proud
Do you
of
see
you,
what I
Daily.
did there? So they're both trains and
Very proud.
Are you a train enthusiast now?
I guess I am now. This has inspired me. I'm going to start collecting replicas just like Joe Biden does.
There you go. Yeah, I think overall Mugen Train is a fantastic film on its own, but what I like even more is its place in the anime community, because this movie is, I feel like it's a beacon for, it's another step toward normalizing anime, or just the idea that someone can watch anime and not be a fucking weirdo, because it's so mainstream.
Yes.
Right? Like, because 20 years ago it's like, oh, you watch Japanese cartoons, what are you, a baby? Or are you like weird and you like hentai only? Like anime has always had that weird vibe to it, and in the past few years it's been getting a lot better with like Anime Expo and like just anime being more in the mainstream, and I feel like this movie is just that next step to make it mainstreamer.
Mainstreamier.
Word of the show, right? Mainstreamer.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have people like I have a couple friends that are just like, yeah, I'm never really big in the whole anime thing aside from like maybe Dragon Ball growing up. And they're like, I have people texting me like, oh my God, dude, Demon Slayer is fucking great. And I think that speaks volumes to the fact that like it's getting to people that don't even care all that much about anime to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think anime is becoming more and more mainstream, which I think is something that we should embrace and not gatekeep whatsoever. And I think Demon Slayer is definitely going to be one of those ones that it's a sign of progress when it's like it's going to be included in those, like, oh, you watch Demon Slayer, but do you watch any real anime? And it's like, yeah. Which, yeah, it's both a blessing and a curse, I guess.
Yeah, but if someone ever says that shit to you about like any hobby, they can go fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you like Persona, but do you play any real Shin Megami Tensei games? Like, no, I don't play bad games. Fuck off.
Ooh.
Ooh, hot takes.
You don't
Hot,
get people
spicy
in
takes.
Fiery comments incoming.
Yeah, sure.
On the next episode, we'll be talking about why Persona is a good game and why any other Shin Megami Tensei game is trash.
Same.
Do we need to do
No,
a hot takes episode?
We're doing one right now. It's all very hot and we're doing takes.
That's true. It is
Mhm.
very
Yes.
hot. I am dying.
Melting.
So with that, I think let's bring this train on home. Wrap it up. Other choo choo train puns. I don't know. I'm not a big train person. But yeah, that's kind of our thoughts on Mugen Train. If you haven't seen it and you listen to all of this, I don't know. Hope you found some enjoyment in it. Right? I get the appeal of listening to spoiler casts without having seen the thing.
Wait, if that's right, we can just make up shit, and then they go watch the movie and be like, that didn't, like the moment that Tanjiro looks directly into the camera, and says, "Don't do drugs, kids."
Yeah, or that scene in the stripper bar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because that was part of the train.
Mm-hmm.
I love
It
that.
was in the train.
I love the idea of Demon Slayer just being one giant campaign, like part of the Dare campaign. Keep kids off drugs.
Yeah, that's the end. The ending. The bad guy was drugs all along.
Oh my
It was-
god.
It was you, drugs. And it's just, what's his name? Except just drugs is superimposed in his eyes instead of the kanji.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could be like one of those trailers that like purposefully puts misleading footage.
Kyojiro, if you just do drugs, look how powerful you'll be able to come.
That's why it's rated R, because he's an impressionable young boy who starts doing drugs.
Yeah.
You see, Tanjiro, this is what's called cocaine.
Or
Yeah.
Muzan in Japanese.
Oh,
that's
it's
what I mean.
all connected. Anyway, okay.
But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you have your thoughts on Mugen Train that you'd love to share with us, we would love to hear it, read it, see it. I think, it's just fun to talk about some good movies. Or if you think it was a bad movie, let us know. You can email us at everythinginpod@gmail.com, or you can tweet at us at everythinginpod. It's where you can also find a wonderful gif of Inosuke run crying and flailing his arms, and it's fantastic. It's probably the best.
Yes.
Yes. We will be
Yes.
back next week where we're going to talk about serial killer fandoms.
It's a thing, guys. Get ready.
うまい
Oh boy.
So, Robert's not here to bring us out because he was murdered by one of the serial killers we'll be profiling in the next episode.
So Robert's computer crashed literally while we were finishing up the show. But you know what? I think it'll be fine because he can just either edit over this or we'll just write it off for him. So write into us. Everythinginpod@gmail. Everythinginpod on Twitter. And we will see you next Thursday where hopefully Robert's computer doesn't crash again. Poor Robert. Hopefully he's not dead.
Or is he? Dun dun dun.
Get on the
Okay, I gotta watch that because I did hear that one of the plot lines was basically like nerfing Naruto, like cutting him off from the nine-tailed fox
Ah.
so that he wouldn't be able to use that super OP power anymore.
So they can prolong the series even more.
Exactly.
Yeah, they gotta down the power scaling, I guess. Dumb.
They'd already jumped the
Even
shark
though-
on that.
Yeah, I mean Sasuke still has the Rinnegan, so
Could you fucking imagine, like, Dragon Ball Super comes back and it's like the whole story is Goku can't turn Super Saiyan 3. Wait, hold on. That was literally the plot of GT.
Wait, actually.
Yeah, that was actually the plot of GT, is that he turned into a child, so he couldn't turn into Super Saiyan 3 anymore.
wait, he does though.
Well, he does, but he can only hold it for 7 seconds or some dumb shit like that.
It's such lazy fucking writing.
Yeah. God, I was just joking with it. Like, Dragon Ball did it.
and then it's real.
It actually
That's the
happened.
joke, is that it's real.